Hi, everyone. It's Andy Bernstein, and I'm so glad you can join me and all of us at Legends of Sport for this very special re-release of my podcast with the late, great Kobe Bryant. As you may know, I have been the Lakers team photographer and longtime senior photographer for the NBA for 40 years. I was fortunate to meet a young rookie named Kobe Bryant on Lakers Media Day in 1996 and document his Hall of Fame career every step of the way for 20 years. 5 NBA championships, two-time NBA Finals MVP, 2008 League MVP, 18-time All-Star, and 2 gold medals, and so much more. Off the court, Kobe was an entrepreneur, an author, and an Oscar winner. He was also a husband and father to 4 beautiful girls. Kobe and his daughter Gigi died tragically on January 26, 2020, in a terrible helicopter crash that also took the lives of 7 other souls on that shocking Sunday morning. The world lost an icon and a hero. His wife, Vanessa, and his 3 daughters lost a husband, father, daughter, and sister. And I lost a friend. It is a loss I don't think I will ever fully recover from. And I know I share that feeling of grief with so many of you out there. After he retired in 2016, Kobe and I collaborated on a book called The Mamba Mentality, How I Play. The book was released in 2018, and he was incredibly generous to allow me into his office in November 2018 to record this podcast episode, which was released a few weeks later. We had a great conversation, like so many others we had had over the years in the training room or on the team bus or plane or while we worked on our book together. I hope you enjoy this very special episode with the Mamba himself. We are re-releasing it as an audio version as well as a never-been-seen-before video version on our Legends of Sport YouTube channel. Thank you all again, and thank you to my friend Kobe Bryant for a wonderful conversation that day. All right. Well, welcome Kobe Bryant to the Legends of Sport podcast.
All right, man.
Thanks
for having me.
Thanks for having us at your office. Who would have thought, 22 years ago when we first met, that I'd be sitting on this side of a microphone interviewing you after an unbelievable 20-year iconic NBA career.
Well, that makes 2 of us. I never thought I'd be having an office or a studio
right
out here talking about basketball. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, we have a lot to talk about, of course, about our book, which I'm hearing now is a #1 bestseller in the New York Times list.
How about that, huh?
I can't believe it. Well, I can believe it because it's all you, but
No.
I think we made a pretty good team on that.
Yes, we did.
So let's go back just a little bit as to when we first met. Okay, you and I have talked about this story, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast. You and I met. It was Media Day 1996, your rookie year. 18-year-old, fresh-faced kid, right? And I came up, introduced myself to you, and you said, I know who you are.
I absolutely know who you are.
Right? That blew me away because we had never met before.
Well, you've taken every iconic picture, poster that I had on my wall. So, and I was very, very familiar with who you are because all the iconic shots that I watched and studied were taken by you. So
that just blew me away, honestly. And then when we got into the book, you talked about how you studied my pictures as a kid, right? So can you remember something specific? Can you remember like, a Jordan poster or, Magic Bird Isaiah? Do you remember any specific ones?
I think it was a Jordan box out. And I was looking at his foot position and where his elbow was at the time. I think it was in a midsection of a player. His elbow was hooked into the midsection of the player. Yeah. And I remember looking at that and going, okay, that is not how they teach me how to box out.
That's big time box it out.
Yeah, it's a different thing.
There's
nothing fundamentally sound about that other than he has his back towards the player and he's using his legs to move the player out. Everything else was completely unconventional. And I'm saying, okay, well, maybe that's why I'm having issues boxing out bigger players because at the time I was playing against older players.
Yeah. How old were you then at that moment? 12.
So I was having difficulties boxing out bigger players. And I'm looking at that and saying, okay, it's not good enough to simply turn my back to a player. I actually have to use my elbows to try to lock the player in and kind of shield them off because I can tell that his arms were flexing, right? So he wasn't just putting his elbow there for just to rest it. Right. There was an
purpose.
action. There was a purpose. There was movement involved and resistance involved. So little details like that.
And a photo spoke to you with that, right?
Well, yeah, because I can watch and analyze and critique, and still photos. You can learn a lot more from that than you can from moving pictures, because things move so fast, right?
Yeah.
But with a still image, you have time to actually look in the moment,
Right.
and look at either what was working for the offensive player or not, and what was working for the defensive player or not.
I got to tell you, this is the first time I ever heard that from any athlete that I've ever worked with, that they actually used my photos to up their game. I mean, honestly.
But if you think about it, it makes complete sense, right?
Yeah.
Because you can sit there and watch footage from a game broadcast on TV, right? And you'll study that. Photos are also part of the broadcast. They're actually things from the game that should be learned, should be studied. So it's gamed content.
Yeah. Right? So then, it was on me to get the timing right so that you could learn something.
Yeah. Well, you succeeded.
Yeah, thank you. So I have to ask you, Kobe, because I've known you for so long, and your work ethic is absolutely legendary. I mean, it was from day one, from when I first met you. I think that's one of the things that bonded us from the beginning, that I saw in a young guy, the same work ethic that I had at your age, and I was 20 years older than you. Determination, drive, ambition, don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Somebody tells you can't do something, it only fuels you more, Where did that work ethic come from you, for you?
Well, I think it just came from the enjoyment of playing. So I'm sure the same thing with you. You just love what you do, and so when you're doing it, there's no place you'd rather be. And as you grow up, you start to understand that is what most people call hard work.
Yeah.
But for us, it's just an enjoyment of what we do.
Right.
We just want to do it more and more and more. Like I just couldn't stop thinking about the game.
Yeah.
If I wasn't playing it, I was studying it. If I wasn't studying it, I was playing it. And as you grow up, people tend to label that as hard work
and obsession.
Obsession.
We've talked about that, right?
Yeah.
So you have a well-known quote that I use all the time, that if you're not obsessed with what you do, we don't speak the same language.
Yeah.
Right? And you took that into your professional career. I'm sure that started at a young age. You just described how the game spoke to you, and you worked on your game as a young player. Was there anything about me in particular in our relationship that you saw, like there was some kind of camaraderie there in terms of obsession?
Well, I knew from your history, from your track record, that you must have been excellent. Right. I mean, there's no person that's getting to the gym 5 hours early. If Bird's there shooting and you're there, chances are
I beat him to the gym.
That's what I'm saying. There's
Right.
a certain level of preparation.
I just want to get a good parking spot.
Yeah. Me too.
Right.
But when I show up to the arena and I see you there setting up, and the process that you go through setting things up, the ladder, and, the practice photos and all this. That's telling me that you are preparing for this game. You're not just showing up and taking pictures, right? There's thought that goes into it. There's an understanding that goes into it, and that means we speak the same language.
Do you think there's a downside to obsession? I mean, I certainly have felt like I'd had to sacrifice. I was a single dad for like 8 years when my kids were little.
Yeah.
And I, wasn't around them a lot. I was traveling a lot. I get home late from, road trips or whatever. I mean, like in any job, there's a sacrifice, obviously, long hours or whatever it is that you do. Is it a fair trade-off, do you think?
Well, I mean,
at the end of the day,
as a kid, the sacrifice is not really a sacrifice to me.
Yeah.
When people say, okay, well, you lose a normal childhood. Well, who defines what's a normal childhood?
Yeah.
I don't know. What's normal?
Yeah.
Hanging out with your friends and doing what?
Yeah.
Going to the movies, walking around aimlessly, talking about things that mean nothing. Like
for me, it was like trading cards.
I mean,
baseball cards.
Okay, so you're missing out on that.
Yeah.
That's not much to miss out on. There's no.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a kid and you love to play basketball, you love to play soccer, you love writing, whatever the case may be, you're one of the fortunate ones because you know what it is that you love to do. You figured it out at an early age and you go after it, and you meet friends through that. And you meet people that share the same commitment level, same obsession, if you will. and you do nothing but propel each other versus hanging around a bunch of kids that don't know what the heck they want to do with their lives, and they're just walking around aimlessly doing foolish things. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like a waste of time.
It's a waste of time. Now, as you get older and you have a family, now that becomes something where you have to figure out that balance of commitment to your craft, but also commitment to your family, which is very, very tough.
It's in our business. Tough. It's got to be one of the hardest businesses.
It absolutely is. And the way I look at it, it's not, there's no such thing as pure balance. It's never going to be that way. It's you just continue to swing from one side to the other, where you obsess with your craft and you spend all the time you need to do that, and then, well, you swung too far on that side, so let me swing really far on this side, spend time with the family, and you do all this, and then you swing back. So it's like a constant back and forth.
Yeah, I call it a revolving door of priorities.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And you hope in the process of swinging that door, it doesn't come off the hinges.
Right. Yeah, right. All hell doesn't break loose when you're on a road trip, which has happened to me many times. But, Peter Guber has a great mantra in his book, and Peter's a good friend. I know you know Peter really well, that dreams plus goals equals destiny, right? So as a young photographer, my dream was to become a good photographer. The goal when I became a professional photographer, was to get that first cover of Sports Illustrated. And I don't know if it was my destiny or not, that's for somebody else to decide. But for me, that was my destiny, So when you won that first championship in 2000, did you feel like that you had accomplished that goal? Was that your goal going into becoming a professional player?
No, I wanted to win multiple. So, we won the first one. It was like, we're supposed to win the first one. I mean, because the goal wasn't to win one. It was like, no, it was just a matter of when it was going to happen. It was like, okay, great, we won one. Yeah. Awesome. Let's win another one, right? Because it became normal, at least in my mind, that you win 3 in a row. Okay. This is what we do. I mean, Magic won back-to-back. Michael went 3 in a row twice. It was like, they can do it. Why the hell can't we?
Yeah. Well,
this is what we're supposed to do.
Phil Jackson always said that the second one was always harder, right? Because there's a natural letdown, blah, blah, blah. But you wouldn't let that happen.
No,
I remember you wouldn't let that happen.
The second one was the easiest one.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through trials and tribulations in the regular season, but, I mean, the playoffs came around. It was like...
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it was the easiest one to get.
Right.
I mean, we
That's
lost
true.
one game
That's
the whole
true.
postseason. It was nuts. The third one was a little more challenging. Third one was a little more challenging for us in terms of getting to the finals. But no, this is what we were supposed to do.
Did you guys feel like you had it in you to win that fourth one in 2004?
Yeah.
I mean, the personnel, you had Carl, you had Gary Payton.
That team is a different, so I was alluding to us winning 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And going up against the Spurs. Right. And we were close. Yeah. I remember Robert's shot, went bottom of the bucket.
Yes,
out,
that's right.
Right. So it's a game of inches, man. And then for whatever reason, management at the time decided to break that team up. I don't understand. Yeah. I didn't understand at the time. Don't understand now. And bring in new personnel, bring in Gary, bring in Carl, for a team that just went to the finals 3 consecutive years, won 3 straight championships, lost in a grueling series to San Antonio, who went on to be eventual champions. Instead of saying, you know what, let's give them the summer to retool, just rest. Older players, you got to just and come back and do it again. Yeah. They just decided to change and revamp the whole squad.
Yeah, it actually doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make sense. So, we brought in players, and Carl and Gary, who were great individual players and great playing in the systems that they played in for years. But the triangle is a different animal. It's a different animal. And we weren't prepared going up against Detroit to run deeper into our offense. Right.
And, of course, Carl got hurt, so that hurt you guys.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have made much difference, right? Because, the triangle is based on a sequence of options, and we knew stone cold every sequence. Yeah. So no matter what the defense does, we are ready to counter going really, really deep into the triangle. And we just weren't prepared for that. So
tell me the mental effect that the Achilles injury had, right? I mean, you've said publicly, you say it in the book, that there was no way an injury was going to define when you were going to retire. Yeah. It was not going to be your, exit out of the game. Your initial reaction was, I'm sure, shock and, got a big hill to climb. But I remember from that first moment on, you were determined to get back on the court and not half the player you were. You certainly had the Mamba mentality at that point, right?
Yeah. Well, it was tough. I mean, I really sacrificed a lot in that second half of the season to get us to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we were playing the best basketball out of any team in the league at that point.
Right.
And I really liked our chances, not just to get to the playoffs, but to win the whole thing. I mean, that's how well we were playing. And so when that happened, I was really just angry, just upset that it happened.
Yeah.
Right. And I'd been contemplating stepping away from the game up until that point. And then when it happened, I was like, okay, I'm not retiring now. This is not going to determine.
Yeah, right. There's no way.
No, it's not going to happen.
No, I mean, I went with you to the doctor. Remember when you had the stitches out? We have photos in the book.
Yeah.
And all you cared about was learning how to walk in the boot.
That was it.
What do I got to do? How long is it going to take?
Well, you know how it is, man. You go piece by piece. You know, made the determination, I'm going to come back from it, and now it becomes, all right, what are the steps to do that? And you just go incrementally.
Yeah. Did you think you could come back at the level you came back at?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Hell yeah.
Wow. I mean, there was so many people that doubted that at your age and all the mileage you had on you already.
But I had great doctors.
Yeah.
Had great therapists in Judy and Barron Spatos. I had a team of great physicians.
Yeah.
And then also I knew my commitment level to doing what they told me to do.
Right.
Right. And most players from the research that I've gathered tend to rush through things and skip steps of the process. And I committed to not doing that and just focusing on every little piece, even the being patient part of making sure you don't put too much stress on it, stay off your feet and all this good stuff.
So when you woke up the morning of April 13th, 2016, your last game, I was with you almost from the beginning, came to your office, I think it was like 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea that day would end up the way it did? 60 points,
Zero.
walking off the court?
No,
Seriously?
Zero.
I mean, we live in Hollywood, right? Basically. I mean, who could have written that script?
No, if that script showed up on my desk and I'm reading the script, I'd tell them to rewrite it.
No way that could happen.
It's too unbelievable.
I mean, I was sitting there, and Staples Center, I had heard Staples Center go crazy. I don't think it had gone that crazy for a regular season game ever.
It's a different energy. It was really electric. But no, I mean, the day was filled with me being in the headspace of the stories that we were creating and kind of the editorial process of that. I wasn't really focused on it. It was like, oh, the game's going to come and go. Yeah. It's time to move on, sort of thing. Yeah. And I got there, and just the energy in the place, and my teammates were like, come on, we got to get you the ball and all sort of stuff. I was like, oh, man, I really got to play.
Yeah. And then what about the champagne shower in the locker room afterwards?
I know.
I think it was, I don't know what it was. It's probably just water at that point. But
I don't know. I mean,
that was awesome.
I was like, dude, this is cool. But I said, I'm only used to having champagne for championships. This is not a championship.
Right.
But since the bottles are here, all right, just pop them. Let's go.
It really was a beautiful moment.
It was fun.
And then you came out and you signed the court. That was just that was amazing. So, Kobe, you have kind of made it almost your life's work in a way to seek out greatness, to seek out people that you admire, and get their story, pick their brains. Is there anybody left really that you haven't talked to that you could tell us?
No, I mean when I think of a player or person or individual to call, I normally just call them, right? So it's hard for me to sit here and say I want to reach out to this person, because when I think I want to reach out to that person, I just do it right then and there. So no, I mean, but it's a long list. I mean, from all kinds of different walks of life.
Yeah. And what do you feel is the common thread between people of that stature, greatness, people that you seek out, people like yourself, that extra chromosome or something that you guys have? What is that?
Well, I think it's, we talked about it earlier in terms of loving what you do. That's always step one, truly loving it, and not everything that comes with it, but loving it, right? And then it's the patience of paying attention to the basics of your discipline. Be it investing, be it marketing, be it acting, music, composition. It's what are the basics, what are the fundamentals of the craft, and mastering those and working on those over and over and over and over, and then being creative on top of that, right? But they all master the basics.
So it sounds a little bit like you're talking about the Mamba mentality, natural segue into that, right?
Yeah.
Is an obsession, it's passion, it's taking things to another level. I know you talk about it in the book. It's actually the title of the book, but can you just tell us, all of the listeners, how you define Mamba mentality?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is just having an infinite curiosity about what it is that you do, right? What you see in this book is you'll see a person that's just really curious about their craft. So constantly asking questions. Well, why is that way? You know, why is that there? Why is that here? Why is this? Why is this that? And then through those questions, it leads you down the rabbit hole of answers that then just lead to more questions. And that's how you get better at your craft. Right? And so at its purest form, Mamba mentality is curiosity. And then you layer everything else on top of that.
So you had the Mamba mentality as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You just didn't call it that.
Just didn't call it that.
Until the actual Black Mamba came to be, right? Okay,
Right.
I got it. So what's in your own words? Okay, what is the mission of this book that we did together? Because I know the genesis of it, how it started.
Sure.
What are you trying to get across?
No, teach next generation. You know, who's the kids that are out there playing basketball that want to learn the game. The kids that were me. You know, 30-some years ago.
And is it important for you to let people into your head? Because, you know, I was one of the few people that saw these incredible personal workouts that you did. I remember, and I'm sure you remember this, but we're in Las Vegas for the 2008 training camp for USA basketball for the Olympic team, and I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, Kobe's doing Pilates. You want to come up and take some pictures? You know, I don't think many of those guys in the team were doing Pilates at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then that legendary workout and work ethic. Then all of a sudden, you know, you see the other guys, you know, they're not kind of hanging out at night anymore. They're taking care of themselves. They're in the gym a little earlier, right?
Yeah, they figured out pretty quickly, that's the level that we need to work at. We need to kind of be at that level, yeah.
Was it weird for you to be like the elder statesman on that team?
Well, in 2008, not really. My mind was completely focused on winning the gold medal because you know the two teams before had failed, right? And so it was like, no, this is a deadly serious thing. It was important for the other guys who were a lot young. Bron was really young; he didn't know anything about winning championships, and you know, D Wade had won, but he was on those teams that lost. So it was like, no, this is we're facing imminent threats, and we need to reestablish our position. So it was more focused on creating a culture of, no, this is not happening.
Right. And you set the tone for that. I mean, I was there. I saw it happen.
Yeah, Coach K, that was the focus.
Coach K talked about that on my podcast. He said that you came to him and you said, I want to guard the best guy on every team. Yeah. And I don't care about scoring. Yeah. And then you did that, and he had to go to you and say, you know, you could score a little too once in a while, right?
But guarding people was so much more fun because you know, listen, there are players over there that you don't hear about that are great players.
Yeah,
right?
for
great
sure.
Players, Spanoulis and Diamantidis and all these. Yeah. And if I wanted the responsibility of studying these players. And showing up to play them and say, no, I know who you are. Yeah. I know where your spots are. I know what you like to do. You're not just going to sit here watch me play and figure me out and think you got an advantage. No, I know everything about you. And, you know, I'm going to be in your jersey from the time they throw the ball up to the time the game's over.
So the Mamba mentality went international at that point. Is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, no playing around. No playing around.
All right. Well, I want to give you some quick hitters here. So I'm going to ask you about to describe in one word some teammates and a couple of coaches. All right. So if I say Tex Winter to you, the late Tex Winter, genius, perfect, right? Phil Jackson. Simple. What would you say about Phil?
He's another genius.
Yeah. How about Derek Fisher?
Tough.
Pau Gasol.
Smart.
Shaq.
Goofy.
Karan Butler.
Brother.
And Lamar Odom.
Leader.
All good stuff, man. Those are perfect. I I want to ask you a couple of questions that are China related, because we got a lot of fans in China.
Yeah.
And if you can tell us, what's your most memorable moment in China in your life and career?
The first time I went over there and did a basketball camp, that was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it was only 10 kids. And it was a very small, like ridiculously hot gym.
And when was this about?
And this was 97.
Oh boy! So this is like after your first year,
Yeah,
rookie year.
First year. So
Isn't that the first time you were ever in China?
it was.
Yeah?
It was. And just 10 kids, and I just took them through a clinic, took them through a drill, and they loved the game so much. And you could see kind of the excitement on their face of like this new thing, and you know. And I always remember that. That was when my trips to China were at their purest stage, you know, and then contrast that with going into the Bird's Nest in 2008 for the Olympics, and the ovation I got there, right? And so those are like two drastically different moments. But you get the one in 2008 because of the one in 97.
See, I remember that in Europe when I went over there with the Celtics in '87. It was the first McDonald's open that the NBA had brought to Europe in Madrid. They brought the Celtics.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember we passed, on the way to the hotel from the airport, we passed the arena, and there were probably 500 people waiting in the rain, everyone wearing a Bird jersey, McHale, whatever, fathers, sons, grandfathers, just to get tickets. You know, it was insane.
Sure.
And then my first experience in China was off the chart. I just could not believe how popular the game was at that point.
The game translates, right? And it's just the connectivity with others. Yeah. And you know, the game, I mean, it's such a great metaphor for life in general, and I think that's why it has such a global appeal.
One more question for China. What's the greatest thing that you ever learned?
The greatest thing I ever learned, that no matter where you travel, no matter what part of the world you go, emotion is emotion. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can go to China and you think, okay, it's culture's different. And go to Italy, culturally things may be different. Foods may be different, you know. But the emotion that people have is exactly the same. You know, the fears, the anxiety, the joy, the love. Everybody at their core want to experience the same thing emotionally and have the same emotional challenges. It's right. Once you understand that, then every place becomes home.
Absolutely. So let's get back to the book for just one couple of more questions. So was there ever a time, and you got to be honest with me, okay? Was there ever a time when I was hanging around on the plane in the locker room when you said, "I'm just sick of this guy. Why the hell does he keep taking my picture?" Seriously?
Yeah.
Because I can honestly tell you, the listeners, everybody, that it was never once that you said, "Hey, you know what? Give me some space or something." And I was always aware of that. I was always aware, like, you know, the picture, my favorite picture, you know, behind the scenes in Madison Square Garden when you're meditating. Phil calls it the thinker, you know. And you got your ankles in ice and your finger was busted. And my biggest fear was the click of the shutter was going to disturb you. And you were in such a deep meditative state that I don't think anything could.
If the shutter disturbed me, then I wasn't focused enough.
There you go.
Right. So I've always tried to have everything around me disappear. Right. And just be where I am. Yeah. And I think that works. Yeah. For me as an athlete, I think that works for you as a photographer because you know the subject is not distracted by you taking pictures of it, right? You wind up getting things that are authentic and true to form because the person is just really in the moment and focusing on what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. So. Like you talk about a big shot. The big shot's just a shot.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Everything else goes away. Pressure is like meaningless at that point. Right. You've shot, you tell in your own words, you've shot a million times, right?
Yeah, over and over and over. And so you just need to do it one more time. And, through experience, you understand that you make some and you miss some. Yeah. You'll make some game winners, you miss game winners. So you don't really get too up and down about it. Yeah. Because there's always another one.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Well, you hit some big shots in your day.
Yeah, and I missed some big ones too. Well, right? So you just kind of, what I'm saying is you just roll with it because there are ebbs and flows to everything. right? You'll be disappointed that you missed one at that moment in time, and then the next day you let it go because you have another game to play, and then you make that one and you get super excited. You can't still be on cloud nine the next day because you got a game the next night.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So you just it's a constant cycle of being in the moment.
So it's like if you pitched a no-hitter that the last time you came out, it's a whole new game, right?
No, you let it go. You focus on your next opponent.
Right. Well, Kobe, I can't tell you what a pleasure it's been to do this book with you. First of all, for the trust that you had to have me just tail around with you for 20 years. But the book is a great testament to your career and I think to our relationship. And
yours as well, man.
Thank you.
This has been a great tag team effort, man, and not just us, but our team in general, to put this book together and
absolutely
have it succeed the way it has.
Yeah, and now it's gone to other countries, and the Mamba has just gone nuts all over the world. So thank you, Kobe. Thanks for being part of Legends of Sport, the podcast. So tell us what's on the agenda for you now. What's in front of you right now that you're working on?
Well, the detail series is always rolling. Yeah, Peyton Manning now doing detail. He's on his 4th episode, and it's just remarkable what he's doing. And then we have the Punies podcast.
I listened to 5 of them on a drive that I had from Seattle to Portland the other day. I loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
So we have the Punies, and then now focused on turning that into an animated series. We have a slate of novels coming out, the first of which is coming out in March, called the Rollaby Wizardnard series. Magical Coach. Right, a lot of that inspiration comes from my time with Tex and Phil and Bill Russell as a mentor, and so you'll see a lot of that in those stories. And then we have more novels to follow, right? So we have a slate of content for the next 5 years, man. So we're really, really busy, novels to films and theater and things of that sort.
Wow. So. Well, I'm glad you were able to shoehorn this book into that busy schedule. We got you out of here in time, man.
Oh, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That was super fun.
That's great.
That's just ridiculous.